Thank you all for joining us today for this webinar on strategic technology assessment and aligning your business and IT goals. Today's webinar is presented by ISOutsource, a modern technology consulting firm. We have two panelists joining us today from ISOutsource. First, we have Doug Costa, our Director of Strategic Accounts and VCIO, as well as James Barr, our Security Specialist. Doug and James, why don't you introduce yourselves and get us started?
Hi, I'm James Barr, and I'm a solutions architect specializing in security at ISOutsource, and I've cleaned up a lot of security incidents, and I do a lot of security work, especially in the GRC and compliance spaces.
Good morning, I'm Doug Costa. I work in strategic account direction and VCIO services for our clients. My focus is on strategy, and I work closely with our solutions architects on assessments, roadmaps, frameworks, and implementation of technical controls to meet cybersecurity and compliance requirements.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Let's just dive right in. We'll start with Doug. Doug, can you briefly discuss the current state of technology and its impact on businesses?
Yeah, more than ever, businesses rely on technology services and operations as a real business partner. It's not something where technology is off on its own or off on an island. They really are integrated into the business in terms of both the business's ability to be competitive in the marketplace and from a cybersecurity and protection standpoint. That presents a real opportunity for innovation and highlights the importance of understanding the role of technology in your business.
It's important to innovate. Could you also, kind of highlight some of the potential dangers of having outdated or inefficient technology, or also known as tech debt?
Definitely, those risks of outdated or inefficient technology are both business in terms of your ability to be competitive and serve your clients and partners well, and operational, just in terms of your ability to smoothly function as a business. And that's not to mention the reputational risk that comes from having outdated systems and the challenges that come with that, and the potential exposure to cybersecurity risks and breaches. James, I know that you've encountered this from that tech debt perspective. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've seen?
Yeah, Doug, I could discuss this topic all day. The biggest thing we've seen a real uptick in over the last year and a half is Microsoft 365 token theft. And that's generally achieved by getting someone to click on a link in an email, like a phishing email, and they type in their valid 365 credentials. They're not actually stealing the username and password. They're stealing the successfully authenticated token by putting in those credentials and authenticating, and then they go around and use that to log in and do whatever they want from wherever they want. And that's a real big problem that is rapidly growing recently. Phishing email success rates remain very high. People way too often click on things they shouldn't click on, especially in email, and most especially if it comes from someone they know and they interact with. But the problem there too is that sometimes that other person, legitimate person's mailbox is compromised, and it's a threat actor sending something and not the real person. This highlights the importance of security awareness training and training people to not fall for things like that, or at least be much less likely to. Anywhere from 78 to 94% of all security incidents involve a human error element. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that is. Thanks, James. It is high. That number, 78 to 94% of all security incidents, is tied back to human error. And so while we can put all the measures in place, it's really important that you educate your staff on the importance of cybersecurity and keeping your clients and information secure. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the potential risk to a business by ignoring their technology and really their tech debt?
Yeah, definitely. Businesses need to understand how they're going to use technology to improve and maintain operations and stay up to date. Really, the goal is to allow businesses and organizations to focus on their core business and remain competitive, but at the same time maintain awareness of the systems and user risk that they're accepting. And that can be whether knowingly or unknowingly by relying on outdated systems, products, and tooling. That could be anything from end-of-life servers, applications that aren't patched, vulnerabilities that aren't managed properly, or just simply out-of-date hardware. And I really want to stress that point. Not knowing about something isn't an excuse in terms of your business, your technical, and your reputational risk. you're accepting that risk whether or not you know about it. And so the key is to really know about it and then take the steps necessary to remediate it.
Absolutely. And I'd like to bring up a few real world examples of organizations who came to us who were harmed by neglecting technology best practices. We had one business come to us who suffered a $2 million wire fraud incident. That's an expensive lesson to learn. And we also had another client who had one of their own clients successfully fall for a phishing email that came from our client's legitimate mailbox and wired $400,000 to that threat actor, and that money was gone. Our client paid their client back that whole 400 grand out of pocket to avoid souring the business relationship, and their cyber insurance did not reimburse them for that. That was another expensive lesson to learn. Organizations have gone out of business entirely due to ransomware. It's a real world possibility that can and has happened, and ransomware continues to be prevalent in a lot of areas and is not going away for the foreseeable future as a threat. Consider this. What happens if you wake up tomorrow morning and all of your company's data has been deleted or ransomwared, and for some reason you cannot restore from backups or recover it? How does your business proceed throughout that day, the next morning, the next day, the next week? These are things that must be considered and do occasionally happen in the real world. Great technology solutions paired with great implementations can help protect your users from inadvertently being responsible for potentially business-ending security incidents. Things like dynamic email banners can literally save your business and are important to have implemented and implemented well. Vulnerability management is rapidly becoming mandatory, not just for compliance frameworks, but like B2B, business to business requirements and things like that. There are also numerous state and federal disclosure laws that exist about disclosing a cybersecurity incident. This can be very damaging in its own right. What if your attorney tells you you have to publicly disclose, including various details that you were breached to the public? That can harm your own business relationships with your clients. Do you have effective token protection for your sign-ins? How do you know?
How do you know? That's the question, James. You got to get in there and do a strategic assessment, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, Doug, could you walk us through exactly what a strategic tech assessment is?
Yeah. At ISOutsource, we focus on the value proposition to our clients for everything that we do. In the case of our strategic technology assessments, we work with our clients to understand the technology environment and risk profile so that we can align business goals with technology solutions focused on actionable and meaningful items. As James said, we interpret compliance requirements for regulatory frameworks, including business to business requirements, which are really popular now. It's very common for us to have clients come to us saying that their clients have lists of requirements that need to be in place in order for them to continue doing business. And that's one of the things that we can uncover in these assessments is how well aligned technical controls are with those requirements. Obviously, cyber insurance is more important than ever. Some of the key components of a comprehensive tech assessment are based on analyzing and assessing the business, technology, and cybersecurity needs. The way we break that down is that business needs are really company goals and objectives. Technology refers to the tooling, infrastructure, and operations. And on the cybersecurity front, we're talking about our governance, risk, and compliance frameworks, regulatory frameworks. And one of the unique things about ISOutsource is that we have subject matter experts in every one of those areas. We have consultants who really understand how clients do business and what their needs are. We have some of the best or the best engineering team that I've ever worked with in terms of the ability to provide technology solutions and analyze technology configurations. And then we have a dedicated GRC team that works closely with James and the solutions architects from a cybersecurity and framework perspective. So our goal is really to comprehensively understand the environment, and we have dedicated teams of experts who can do just that.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you for that, Doug. And could y'all help us, understand the difference between a basic IT audit and a strategic assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that CADS right now, you see, put a poll up on the screen for us. So thank you there. I'd like you to go ahead and fill that out if you're so interested and just kind of talk about the difference between what goes into a standard IT audit and what we refer to as these strategic technology assessments. For us, a strategic technology assessment includes a gap analysis of the current baseline state and your desired goals. And it's not just an assessment of a particular technical configuration or certain technical elements. We understand the whole business, from your business to your compliance and technology contexts, and we know how technology supports those objectives and needs. Our goal is to identify actionable items to fit into any budget. I always say that every technology initiative has to align to a clearly defined business goal. This is no different, and this helps uncover what those actions are. And really, at the end of the day, our goal here is to deliver real world business value. We want to provide you with concrete steps that you can take that meet your business's level of need and desired maturity level, as well as the regulations present in your industry.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. It is, it's interesting, as I've been in the IT world now for 3 years, and you look at our clients and prospects that have their business goals aligned with their IT goals, and how well they run and how they're leveraging that to get ahead of their competition and really secure their data. So thank you for those insights. So what are some of the benefits of a strategic tech assessment?
Yeah, our goal is to drive cost savings, efficiency, and risk mitigation. We want to highlight improved decision making and strategic planning opportunities based on data driven insights, and find gaps and holes that you might not even know that you have, quite frankly. And like we talked about earlier, that's not a justification either to your cyber insurance providers or to your employees, and certainly not to your customers. If there's risk in the environment, or if there are threats that you're open to, you've accepted that risk, whether you know about it or not. So the key is to find out about it so that you can remediate it. We're really trying to make sure that you're in a position to have improved performance, increased efficiency of spend, and improved cybersecurity and adherence to the frameworks that your business requires. James has talked about business to business requirements a lot. James, what are your thoughts on that specifically?
Yeah, Doug, B2B requirements have come up a lot the last 1 to 2 years in particular. It used to be somewhat of a rare thing, but now it's just exploding in popularity as numerous other businesses start requiring that the other businesses they work with attest to doing a lot of good security practices in writing. And so this has also driven a lot of business with our own clientele at ISOutsource over the last 1 to 2 years in particular, especially in the government and finance areas.
You think about cyber insurance, it used to be a check the box for doing it. Now they're actually putting rigor to making sure that you are actually implementing said cybersecurity policies. So really important that you take this stuff seriously. All right, gentlemen. So can you walk us and the participants through the typical steps involved in a tech assessment project?
Yeah, we like to have a repeatable, consistent process so that we can use our efficiency and our scale to benefit our clients, but also be responsive to any given client's specific needs and requirements. But generally, the framework is that we conduct a business assessment and establish the business goals and baseline, conduct an assessment of the regulatory and compliance requirements, including cyber insurance and those B2B requirements that we keep talking about. We assess the existing technical configurations and perform a gap analysis between the current state and the desired state, then prepare and present a summary of findings and a roadmap and budget for implementation of technical controls to remediate any gaps that we find. I always like to say that it's not a plan unless you have a budget attached to it. Now, on the technical side, James and our solution architects really are experts in the field and experts at their craft. So I think everybody would like to hear, James, some of the technical steps that you go through when you're working on the technology side of these assessments.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. The first step is gaining access to all known IT infrastructure in the client environment. And sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge. Sometimes people don't have access to certain things or know how to grant us appropriate levels of access so that we can fully review and audit those things. So sometimes we have to work with them to even achieve that state before we can even really start doing any auditing to begin with. But then once we do have access to all known IT infrastructure, at least within the scope of the assessment, then we start doing the technical deep dive and auditing everything that's in scope, and recording findings and making bullet points of recommendations and really focusing on actionable real world things you can do to go improve your security, rather than say focusing on minor fluff, for example, by comparison. And we document things as they're discovered, but that's not a full onboarding documentation scenario either. We stay within the scope of the project engagement for the assessment. And this often winds up requiring contextual discussion with technical staff to gain further understanding about like why some things are deployed or configured the way that they are. Sometimes there are reasons, or there's an old line of business application that can't be upgraded or something that we have to account for. So, it's not uncommon to have to work through a variety of non-optimal things during the course of this process.
That's one thing I've learned here. Not one scenario is the same with anybody's IT infrastructure and their network. So,
Nope.
uh, well, James, thanks for that. Could you maybe share some success stories or case studies where we're actually putting our theory to test with clients?
Certainly. We work to improve infrastructure to minimize disruption and reduce loss in business revenue from technology failures. Your technology stack, in theory, should be perfect and never cause you any problems or heartache. That's not the reality, but that's the goal. A large business came to us who was threatened with being cut off from being able to charge Visa credit cards to all their clients due to numerous cases of fraud being traced back to them. And we worked with them a tremendous amount over the course of years to fix their infrastructure up and down and get them into a much better place. And that's no longer a concern. Things are pretty good for them. And then we also have another client who was given very, very detailed and extensive B2B requirements from a major bank for them to meet. And we put a lot of time and effort in to help them meet that as well. Otherwise, they were going to lose all that business if they didn't need all that stuff from that major bank client.
Thank you for those stories. So would the two of you please summarize some actionable takeaways and next steps for the audience that you really want them to, if they take anything away, this is what you want them to take away?
Yeah, the one thing I would say with a bullet is we guarantee you are not as well protected as you think you are. I have yet to see a client who is in a perfect or near perfect state who comes to us. There are always meaningful remediations to be found and performed.
That's a good point, James. Like we talked about, not knowing isn't sufficient either. Not knowing that you're not well protected doesn't absolve you of the responsibility of being in that state for your clients and your employees. Along those lines, business compliance, regulatory needs are constantly evolving and deepening. To echo Joe's point, one of the things that we always see is that they don't get simpler, they only get more complex, and the requirements only get deeper. So understanding your technical environment in the current state of technical controls and associated risk is absolutely crucial to your business. And then our assessments really produce a roadmap and budget plan to remediate the findings. That's one of the things that differentiate us. We're not just doing fact finding. We're not just doing storytelling. We're providing you with actionable information aligned to your business goals to keep you safe and performing at your best.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, James. I'd like to take a moment and just tell you a little bit about ISOutsource, and then we're going to jump right into the Q&A section of this presentation. So ISOutsource, we offer practical resources and tools for getting started with tech assessments and everything involved with IT. We offer project-only clients, fully managed solutions, and as well as augmented support where we fill in with your current IT team. The point is we're here to support you at where you need us. If you want to learn more about us, you can visit us at our website at www.isoutsource.com or fill out our contact form and our advisors will follow up with you.